The night was cold and silent, the kind of night where the wind carried whispers through the empty streets of the colony. Evan walked slowly, his worn boots crunching over broken glass and metal scraps. He had finished another long day at the factory, fixing old machines that barely worked anymore. He was tired, lonely, and hungry, but most of all, his heart was empty since the day he lost his wife and daughter years ago. He had learned to live with pain, but some nights, the silence was too heavy to bear. As he passed the old junkyard, something strange caught his attention. It was faint at first, like a soft whimper. He stopped, thinking it was just the wind, but then it came again. A small cry, weak and full of fear. It sounded like a baby. Evan frowned and turned toward the pile of trash and broken metal. The cry was coming from there. His heart started to race. He stepped closer, carefully pushing aside rusted pieces of metal and torn plastic bags. The sound grew clearer, trembling, desperate. And then he saw it. A tiny figure wrapped in dirty fabric, shaking, barely moving. For a moment, Evan froze. His eyes widened in disbelief. It wasn't a human baby. The skin had a soft, pale glow. The eyes, large and shining blue like liquid light. The little hands had 3 fingers, and the baby's breath came out in soft sparks of light. Evan knelt down slowly, afraid that sudden movement might scare the child. He whispered gently, "Hey there, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The baby turned its head toward his voice and let out a weak sound. It was trying to reach him, even in its weakness. Its tiny hand moved through the cold air toward his. That small gesture broke something deep inside Evan's heart. He carefully lifted the baby out of the trash, feeling how light and fragile it was. The little body was cold, trembling. He wrapped the child inside his jacket and held it close to his chest. The baby's glow dimmed a little as it calmed down. Resting against his warmth, Evan looked around, hoping someone might come out and explain. But the alley was empty. Only silence and the smell of rust surrounded him. Who would throw away a baby? He whispered, his voice shaking. He looked at the alien child again. Its breathing slow but steady now. He could see small cuts and bruises on its arms. It had suffered, maybe even been hunted. Evan didn't understand what species it was or how it ended up here. But he knew one thing, and it didn't deserve this. He started walking home quickly, keeping the baby hidden under his jacket. The colony was dangerous for aliens, especially now. After the human-alien peace treaty collapsed, any alien found outside their zone could be shot or captured. If anyone saw him carrying this baby, he'd be in trouble. He didn't care. He had already lost everything once. He wasn't going to let another innocent life die. When he reached his small apartment, he closed the door quietly and locked it. The place was dark, filled with the sound of rain hitting the metal roof. Evan placed the baby gently on his old couch. He turned on the heater and went to find an old blanket. Wrapping the baby carefully, he smiled softly. "You're safe now, little one," as he fed it some warm milk using a bottle he found. He noticed something else. The baby's body had small glowing patterns, like veins of light moving under the skin. It looked almost beautiful, otherworldly. Evan could feel that this baby was not ordinary. Maybe it was from one of the royal alien families people whispered about. He didn't know it yet. But a tiny tracking chip under the baby's skin had already sent a signal across the stars. Somewhere far away, deep in space, a red alarm flashed in a military ship. 4 armored alien soldiers received the message. Their leader spoke in a cold voice. "The royal child has been located. Retrieve it at all costs." Back on Earth, Evan sat beside the sleeping baby, the rain washing away the sounds of the outside world. He whispered softly, "You're not trash." Not to me. His eyes grew heavy. But a strange feeling grew in his chest. Warmth, purpose, and something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. He didn't see the small red light blinking through the window, marking his location. He only saw a fragile child sleeping peacefully for the first time, not knowing that by morning, the hunters would already be coming for them both. Morning light crept through the cracked window. Casting soft lines across the small apartment, Evan opened his eyes slowly, for a moment forgetting what had happened last night. Then he heard it, a tiny sound, a soft coo. He turned his head and saw the alien baby staring at him, its bright blue eyes shining like stars wrapped tightly in the old blanket. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. The world outside was still cruel and gray, but inside this room it was calm. Evan smiled. A real smile he hadn't felt in years. He whispered, "Good morning, little one." The baby blinked and reached for his hand. The simple touch made him feel alive again. He went to the small kitchen, preparing warm milk. He didn't know what alien babies ate, but the child drank slowly. With tiny sparkles appearing around its mouth, he laughed softly. "Guess you like it." "Huh." The baby made a small humming sound. Like it was answering him, he decided to give her a name. He sat on the floor beside her and said gently, "I can't call you baby forever. You need a name." He looked at her glowing eyes and whispered, "Lyra. You'll be Lyra." The name came from a memory, his daughter's favorite constellation. Lyra smiled as if she understood, and her tiny hands waved in the air. For the next few hours, Evan cleaned her wounds, gave her water, and wrapped her in warm clothes. He even found an old toy his daughter once played with, a small stuffed bear missing one eye. He placed it beside Lyra, and she instantly grabbed it, squeezing it close. A strange warmth filled the room, as if life had returned to a place long forgotten. But outside, danger was already spreading. Unknown to him, the city's scanners had picked up strange energy signatures from his area. The alien soldiers had arrived 2 nights ago, hidden inside the colony's cargo zone. Their armor shimmered like glass, their weapons glowing red. They were silent, efficient, and deadly. Their mission was simple: retrieve the royal infant. Erase witnesses back inside the apartment. Evan felt something uneasy. The air felt heavier, and the city patrols seemed louder than usual. He turned on the small radio. The news voice crackled through static. "Breaking report. Unidentified alien signals detected in Sector 7. Residents are advised to stay indoors." Evan's heart dropped. Sector 7 was where he lived. He looked at Lyra, who was now sleeping peacefully, wrapped in the blanket. "They're looking for you, aren't they?" he whispered. "But I won't let them find you." He sat down beside her and sighed deeply. He remembered holding his own daughter years ago before the sickness took her. The pain of losing her never faded, but now, as he looked at the small alien child, he felt something return, a reason to protect again. As night fell, Evan began making plans. He gathered supplies, food, water, a few tools, and his old pistol from his army days. He had worked as an engineer once, but he also knew how to survive. He removed old circuit boards from his storage and started building a small signal blocker. His hands worked fast, his mind focused. Lyra woke up and watched him from the couch, her blue eyes glowing softly in the dark. "You're watching me, huh?" he said with a gentle laugh. "Don't worry, we'll be safe, I promise." He reached out, touching her small hand. "I lost one daughter. I won't lose another outside." Rain started again, washing the city in silver light. A patrol drone hovered near his window. Scanning the street, Evan stayed still, holding his breath until it passed. He knew time was running out, he whispered. "Tomorrow, we leave this place." Before sleeping, he sat beside Lyra again. The small alien baby held his finger tightly, like she never wanted to let go. In that quiet moment, Evan made a silent promise to protect her. No matter what came, he didn't care if she was human, alien, or something else. She was his child now. As he drifted to sleep, his mind filled with fear and love. Somewhere far above the planet, a transmission flashed. "Target confirmed. Human male identified as caretaker. Move in at dawn." The alien soldiers prepared their weapons, their leader's eyes cold and focused. Back in the small apartment, Evan dreamed of stars, of his wife's smile, and of Lyra's glowing eyes outside. The city slept under the storm, unaware that by morning, death would walk its streets again. Evan's promise was clear. He would fight, he would run, and he would protect this child till his last breath. For the first time in years, his life had meaning again. And even as thunder roared above, he whispered softly, "I'm your dad now, Lyra, and I'll never let anyone hurt you." The sun had barely risen when the colony sky turned red. A deep hum filled the air, shaking the ground. Birds scattered. Alarms began to echo through the old metal buildings. Evan stood by the window, holding Lyra close to his chest. His eyes widened as he saw something impossible, a dark ship hovering above the rooftops, its surface smooth as glass and marked with glowing alien symbols. He felt his stomach twist. He knew what it meant. They had come for her. The ship moved slowly, casting a shadow over the street. A deep mechanical voice boomed through the air, speaking in a strange alien tongue. The sound made his windows vibrate. Then it switched to human language. "Return the child, and no harm will come to you." Evan's hands trembled, but he pulled Lyra closer. Her small hand grabbed his shirt. Her blue eyes filled with fear. "Shh, it's okay, I've got you," he whispered, though he didn't believe it himself. On the ground, people panicked. Some ran, others hid behind vehicles. A few looked toward Evan's building, pointing and whispering. Someone must have seen him with the baby. His chest tightened. He grabbed his bag, stuffed the signal jammer, milk, and blanket inside. He knew there was no time to think, only to move. He stepped into the hallway, the sound of boots echoing outside. He could hear voices, calm, robotic, deadly. The elite soldiers had landed, 4 of them, armored from head to toe in black metal that shimmered with red light, their faces hidden behind helmets shaped like insects, their movements too smooth, too perfect. One of them raised a scanner, a thin beam of light sweeping across the walls. It stopped right on Evan's door. The soldier tilted its head slightly. Target confirmed. Evan's heart pounded. He whispered, "Hold on, Lyra," then kicked open the back door. He ran through the narrow alley. Water splashing beneath his boots, his breath came fast. The baby's glow covered by his jacket behind him. The first explosion tore through the building. Dust and fire shot into the sky. The shockwave threw him forward. He hit the ground hard, pain flashing through his side, but he didn't stop. He pushed himself up and kept running. The soldiers moved like shadows. One landing in front of him, blocking his path. Evan froze. Staring at the tall armored figure, it raised its weapon. A long spear glowing at the tip. "Surrender the infant," the voice said. Calm and emotionless, Evan's grip tightened around Lyra. "She's just a baby," he shouted. "Leave us alone." The soldier took one step forward. "Unauthorized human custody of royal bloodline is punishable by death." Royal bloodline. The words hit him like thunder. He understood now. Lyra wasn't just any alien child. She was important, powerful, maybe even the child of a ruler. That's why they wanted her back. That's why they'd killed to get her. He looked around desperately and spotted an old maintenance tunnel half covered by debris. He grabbed a metal pipe lying nearby, then swung it with all his strength at the soldier's helmet. The impact made a loud crack. The soldier stumbled slightly, not hurt, but surprised. Evan ran, diving into the tunnel with Lyra. The air inside was damp and dark. He could hear the metallic footsteps behind him. Echoing closer, he crawled through narrow passages. Using his memory of the city's old maintenance maps, he had worked on them years ago. Back when the colony still had hope, Lyra whimpered softly, her glow flickering. "It's okay, baby." "Almost there," he whispered, pressing a kiss on her forehead. He reached an exit grate and pushed it open, crawling out into the lower district, an area full of smoke and abandoned machines. He looked up. The ship still hovered high, scanning the ground with beams of red light. Evan ducked behind a broken vehicle. He took out his small jammer and activated it. The signal on his wrist scanner went fuzzy. Good. Maybe it would buy them a few minutes. He could hear them again, the elite soldiers spreading out. Their leader spoke into the communicator. "Subject is moving west. Initiate full lockdown." Evan's mind raced. He couldn't fight them, but he could outsmart them. He started connecting old power cables to create an overload trap. His hands worked fast while holding Lyra in one arm. The baby looked at him, calm despite the chaos, as if she trusted him completely. The moment one soldier turned the corner, Evan triggered the circuit. A flash of blue light burst out, sending a shock wave through the air. The alien armor sparked. The soldier fell back. Twitching from the energy pulse, Evan grabbed his bag and ran again. Through the smoke, through fear, through exhaustion. His lungs burned, his legs screamed. But he didn't stop until he reached the edge of the old sewer entrance. He dropped down inside, panting hard. He sat in the darkness, holding Lyra close. She touched his face with her small, glowing hand, and for a moment everything went silent. He looked at her and whispered, "They'll keep coming, but I won't give you up." Far above, the alien leader stood on the ship's deck, watching the city burn below. "The human is clever," he said coldly, "but no one escapes the Empire." Evan, deep underground, felt the weight of that promise pressing on him. He knew this was only the beginning. He had stolen something priceless, and not gold. Not power, but life itself, and he would protect it, even if the whole galaxy came for him. Rain poured endlessly over the metal rooftops, lightning flashing across the dark sky. Evan ran through the old tunnels beneath the colony, holding Lyra tight against his chest. Every step echoed like thunder. Every breath felt like fire. He had escaped death above ground, But the soldiers were still close, their scanners humming faintly behind him. The tunnel air was cold and thick, water dripping from the cracked ceiling. Lyra's tiny glow lit the path ahead, a soft blue light that danced over the wet walls. Evan whispered, "You're doing great, little one. Just a bit more." His words trembled between fear and determination. Behind them, a distant metallic clank echoed. The soldiers had found another entrance. He could feel vibrations in the walls as heavy boots landed on metal. They were fast and they were closing in. Evan reached an old maintenance ladder, climbed up quickly and kicked open a rusty vent cover. He pulled himself and Lyra out into an abandoned subway tunnel. The station above was silent, forgotten for decades. Dust floated in the air like snow. Broken signs flickered faintly. Evan crouched, catching his breath. His body ached, his clothes soaked, but his eyes were alive and full of fire. He looked down at Lyra, who stared at him with those glowing eyes. "We'll make it out," he whispered. "I promised." Remember, he moved carefully along the old tracks, knowing that the colony's scanner grid was weaker in this area. He remembered working on these tunnels years ago, back when he was a technician. He had built them to hide human refugees during the last war. Now it was saving him and a child not even human. But then a strange noise filled the tunnel, a deep vibration that made the ground shake. Evan froze, pulling Lyra closer. From the far end of the tunnel, red lights flickered. The soldiers had entered from both sides. Their voices echoed in the dark, cold and metallic. Human identified. "Surrender the child." Evan turned, his mind racing. He spotted a service door half open on the left. He ran for it, his boots slipping on the wet floor. A red beam shot past his shoulder, burning through the metal wall. He ducked behind the door just as another blast hit the ground where he stood seconds ago. Inside the service room, he set Lyra on the table and began working fast. His trembling hands opened the panel on the wall, an old power generator still connected to the grid. He tore out 2 cables and tied them to a metal pipe. Creating a live current trap, sparks flew as he whispered, "You're not taking her." The door burst open. One of the soldiers entered, scanning the room. Its armor glowed red in the dark. Evan waited, breathing shallowly. When the soldier stepped on the metal floor, he flipped the switch. A burst of electricity exploded through the room. The soldier screamed, its armor sparking wildly, collapsing to the ground. Smoke rising from its joints, Evan didn't wait. He grabbed Lyra and ran again, through another exit leading to the upper streets. Rain hit his face like cold knives as he climbed a broken staircase and emerged into the storm. He looked around. The city skyline glowed with red searchlights. The alien ship still hovered above like a black moon. He ducked into a narrow alley, his boots splashing through puddles. Lyra whimpered softly. He kissed her forehead, whispering, "Shh, you're safe, I've got you." But deep down, he knew safety didn't exist anymore, not while they were being hunted by machines built for war. He reached the outskirts, where the old walls of the colony met the open desert. In the distance, lightning flashed over endless dunes. Beyond that was the wasteland, dangerous but free. Evan took a deep breath. The storm roared louder, almost daring him to run. Then came the hum again. Engines above, the alien ship's searchlight found him. The beam locked onto his figure, bright and blinding. Evan covered Lyra with his jacket and sprinted forward. His legs burned, his lungs screamed. But he didn't stop. Blaster fire rained down behind him, sand and debris exploding into the air. He jumped behind a large rock and rolled to the ground, clutching Lyra close. "It's okay, baby. It's okay," he whispered, more to himself than her. The beam moved away, searching the area. He waited in silence, heart pounding like a drum. Then, when the light passed, he crawled toward the shadow of an old cargo truck buried in sand. It was broken, but inside he found something. A small hoverbike. Dusty but still functional. He quickly checked the power cell. Weak, but enough for one last ride. He placed Lyra in front of him, covering her with his coat. "Hold on tight," he whispered, his hand pressed the ignition. The engine roared to life with a crack of lightning. The hoverbike lifted, speeding into the storm behind him. Red lights rose in the air, drones chasing. He pushed the throttle, wind and rain tearing at his face. "You're my daughter now," he whispered. "And I'll die before I give you up," far behind. The soldiers followed, but the storm swallowed the sky. In the flashes of lightning, Evan and Lyra vanished into the desert darkness. The galaxy had sent its hunters, but a father's love had already chosen war. The storm had finally ended, the sky above the wasteland turning pale gray as dawn broke. Evan slowed the hover bike, its engine wheezing from exhaustion. Sand covered his jacket and face, his arms trembling from hours of running behind him. The horizon stretched endlessly. No lights, no soldiers, only silence. For the first time in days, he felt like they were safe. He stopped near an abandoned outpost. Half buried under the sand, the metal walls were rusted, but it still offered shelter. He stepped inside, the air dry and still. Dust filled his lungs as he set Lyra down gently on a soft pile of cloth. The baby looked tired but calm, her blue glow dim and fading. Evan crouched beside her, brushing sand off her tiny face. "You did great, little one," he whispered. "We made it," but even as he spoke, worry filled his mind. Her glow was weaker than before, and her breathing slower. "You're not okay, are you?" he murmured, fear spreading through his chest. He looked around the old outpost, finding broken tools and cracked computer panels. He tried turning one on, but the screen flickered for a second, then died. He hit the machine again. Desperate, "Come on, work." Then suddenly, a faint voice spoke from behind him. "That thing hasn't worked in years." Evan spun around. Raising his pistol, an old man stood in the shadows, his hair gray, his clothes dusty, and his mechanical leg hissing softly. "Easy," the stranger said, raising his hands. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be." Evan hesitated, lowering his weapon slowly. "Who are you?" he asked. The man stepped closer, his cybernetic eyes scanning the baby. "You brought trouble with you, human," he muttered. "That's no ordinary child." Evan stepped in front of Lyra protectively. "She's just a baby," he said firmly. The old man shook his head. "No, she's the baby." Evan frowned. "What do you mean?" The man sighed, sitting on a broken crate. "Her name is Lyra Zevenal," he said, "the lost daughter of the Varn Empire's High Empress." Evan's heart froze. He remembered hearing the name on the news years ago, the royal child who was kidnapped, whose disappearance almost started another galactic war. The old man looked up at him. "Do you know what you've done, boy?" he said. "The entire Varn military will burn planets to find her." Evan's throat felt dry. He looked back at the small baby, still glowing faintly in her sleep. "She was in the trash," he whispered, "thrown away like nothing." The man's eyes softened slightly. The Empress had enemies, powerful ones. Some wanted the royal bloodline erased before it could unite the alien clans. They must have ordered her death, but someone spared her and sent her here. Hidden on Earth, Evan sat down, his mind spinning. "So, she's royalty," he said quietly. "And I've been running from her own people." The man nodded. "And they won't stop." Silence filled the outpost. The only sound was the faint hum of wind outside. Evan looked at the sleeping child again. Her small hands moved slightly, and her glow brightened for a moment like a heartbeat made of light. "She's dying," the old man said suddenly. Evan looked up in panic. "And what?" The man nodded grimly. "Varn children can't survive long without their native energy. They need a stabilizer serum, something only their kind can make." Evan clenched his fists. "Then tell me where to find it." The man hesitated, then pointed toward the distant hills. "There's a hidden research station 20 miles north. It used to be part of the old Alliance. They might still have alien tech stored there." Evan stood immediately, strapping his bag. "Then that's where I'm going." The man shook his head. "It's suicide. You won't survive the wasteland. And even if you do, they'll find you before sunrise." Evan looked back, his voice calm but firm. "I've come this far. I'm not stopping now." He picked up Lyra, wrapping her in his coat again. "She's my daughter now, and I'm not letting her die." The old man watched him for a long moment, then sighed. "You humans," he said softly, "always chasing miracles." He tossed Evan a small energy cell. "You'll need this for the bike." Evan caught it, nodding. "Thank you." As he turned to leave, the old man spoke again. "If she lives, she might end the war one day." Evan paused at the door, looking back with a faint smile. "If she lives, she'll know what love is." The wind hit his face as he stepped outside. The sandstorm returning in the distance, he climbed onto the hover bike. The engine roaring to life once again, he held Lyra close, feeling her tiny heartbeat against his chest. Behind him, the old man watched from the doorway, the faint blue light from the baby reflecting in his tired eyes. He whispered to himself, "Maybe humans really are different." As Evan disappeared into the desert horizon, A single satellite above the planet blinked red. Transmission detected. Location locked on the alien ship far beyond the clouds. The soldiers turned toward their commander, who smiled coldly. He knows the truth now, he said. Good. That means the real hunt begins. The desert sun burned hot above the cracked ground. Evan's hoverbike roared across the sand. A fading trail of dust behind him. He held Lyra close, her tiny hand clutching his jacket. Her breathing was weaker, her glow faint. Each heartbeat felt like it might be her last. But Evan refused to stop. Hours passed, the old map glowing on his wrist screen. The abandoned research station stood far ahead, a skeleton of metal and glass buried half under the dunes. It looked lifeless, but it was their only hope. Just a little more, baby, he whispered, his voice breaking. Stay with me. The wind howled across the desert. Carrying a strange hum, Evan frowned. The air felt heavy again, too still. Then he saw them. 4 black dots in the sky growing larger. The alien ship was back, descending fast. No, not now, he muttered, pushing the bike harder. The engine screamed, shaking violently. He reached the edge of the facility and jumped off before the bike crashed into the sand. He stumbled, shielding Lyra from the dust. The old building loomed above him, its doors sealed by rust and time. Evan kicked it hard again and again until the metal cracked open. He rushed inside just as a red beam scorched the ground behind him. Inside, the air was cold and stale. Old screens flickered weakly, their symbols still glowing after all these years. Evan placed Lyra on a table, searching the drawers for anything. Vials, tech, anything that might save her. His hands shook as he found an old med kit, half filled with alien syringes. None of it made sense, but he had no choice. He turned on the nearest console, the hologram flickering to life. Lines of alien code scrolled quickly. Come on, he whispered. Show me something, a soft robotic voice replied. Varn DNA sequence detected. Evan froze, then shouted, Yes! That's her. Can you stabilize her? The voice paused. Stabilization requires royal serum sample. His heart sank. I don't have that, he whispered. Then the voice continued. Alternative option, human DNA bonding. Temporary life support possible. Evan didn't understand the science, but he understood one thing. He could give part of his life to save hers. He didn't hesitate. Do it, he said. The console beeped. A small injector rising from the machine, warning. Procedure irreversible. Evan smiled faintly. I wasn't planning on living forever. He placed Lyra gently under the machine's scanner. Her small eyes opened weakly, glowing blue. It's okay, baby. I'm here, he whispered. The needle pierced his arm, his vision blurring instantly. He felt the machine drain energy from his blood, his heartbeat slowing. Then Lyra's body glowed brighter, the blue light pulsing across the room. Her breathing steadied, her tiny fingers moving again. She let out a soft sound, a sound that melted every piece of pain inside him. Evan smiled through the dizziness. That's my girl. But there was no time to rest. The roof exploded, metal raining down. 4 armored soldiers dropped through the smoke, weapons drawn. Their leader's cold voice echoed through the chamber.
Human, you have interfered with royal affairs.
Surrender now and you may die quickly. Evan stood between them and Lyra, his arm bleeding, his body weak but unbroken. If you want her, he said, you'll have to go through me. The first soldier charged. Evan rolled aside, grabbing a loose power cable and slamming it against the alien's chest. Sparks flew, the soldier convulsed, collapsing. The second fired, a red blast cutting through the wall. Evan ducked, grabbed an old plasma wrench, and threw it like a blade. It hit the alien's visor. Cracking it open, 2 more advanced. Stepping through the smoke, Evan backed up toward the machine. His breath heavy. Come on then, he whispered. Let's see what an old human can do. He hit a switch on the wall, triggering the generator he'd reconnected earlier. A flash of blue light burst out, lightning tearing through the chamber. The soldiers screamed as the current tore through their armor. The air smelled of burning metal. Evan fell to one knee, his body trembling. The lights flickered and silence filled the room once more. He looked at Lyra, alive, glowing again, her eyes now bright and full of life. She reached toward him, whispering a soft sound that almost sounded like Papa. His vision blurred as he smiled. That's right. I'm here. The door burst open again. The last soldier, the commander, that stepped inside. Towering and unscarred, his voice was ice. You think love makes you strong, human, he hissed. It makes you weak. Evan slowly stood, his legs shaking. "No," he said softly. "It makes us human." He fired the last plasma charge from the console directly into the commander's chest. The explosion shook the entire facility, fire and light swallowing everything. When the dust settled, only silence remained. The alien ship in the sky turned and retreated, its signal lost inside the ruins. The machine still glowed softly. Lyra alive, wrapped in the jacket of the man who had given everything. Evan lay nearby, his hand stretched toward her. His eyes half open, a soft smile still on his face. He had kept his promise. He had protected her till his last breath. Outside, the storm cleared, sunlight breaking through the clouds for the first time in days. The galaxy was changing, and it began with one human father and one alien child. Years passed since the fire in the desert. The ruins of the old research station were now covered by sand, silent under twin moons. But deep inside the buried chamber, a soft blue light still pulsed, steady and alive. The machine had protected what Evan left behind, a child who carried both human courage and alien royalty within her blood. Lyra grew fast, not like other beings. Her mind absorbed everything the machines could teach. Human knowledge, alien science, and the memories her father had left behind. Sometimes she would hear echoes, his voice, soft and tired, whispering through the broken speakers. "You're stronger than you know, Lyra." At night, she would sit beside his old jacket, worn and dusty, holding it close. "I remember your warmth," she whispered. "I remember the promise." Her tears glowed faintly. Falling like stars on the cold floor one day, she activated the last surviving console. The hologram flickered, showing her father's message. Recorded before his death, Evan appeared, older, eyes gentle yet fierce. "Lyra," he said, "if you're watching this, it means you survived. I can't be there to protect you anymore. But I know you'll do what's right. You're more than human, more than alien. You are hope for both worlds." Lyra's hands trembled. "I won't fail you, Papa," she whispered. The room filled with soft blue light as she stood. Her small form now taller, graceful, the royal markings on her skin glowing with power. She had grown into a symbol, a bridge between two races that once hated each other. But outside, the galaxy was still broken. The Varn Empire had grown crueler, spreading fear through colonies. The human settlements lived in hiding, old wounds still burning, and far above them, the alien commanders still spoke of the lost royal heir, like a myth. A ghost from the past, Lyra knew the time had come to reveal the truth. She repaired the communication array buried beneath the sands, working day and night, using both human tools and alien circuits. The old station came alive once more, its antennas rising like metal flowers reaching toward the sky. When the system powered up, a bright wave of energy rippled across the desert. Her father's pendant, a small metallic charm she always wore, began to glow. It had been his identification chip, now reprogrammed by Lyra as her beacon. "Let them hear us," she said softly. "Let them all hear." She pressed the activation key, and her voice traveled across the stars, calm yet powerful. "This is Lyra Zevenel, daughter of the Varn Empire and the human who saved me. For too long we've lived in fear and hatred, but my father taught me something your empires never could, that love and mercy are stronger than war." Her message echoed through every frequency, reaching both alien fleets and human outposts. Soldiers, rebels, and civilians stopped to listen. Some cried, others refused to believe. But no one could ignore the tone of truth in her voice. She continued. He was just one man, a single father who found a child in the trash, yet his heart changed everything. If one human could show such love, imagine what we could do together. Her eyes glowed brighter. "I am the proof that we are not enemies. I am both of you, and I will no longer hide." In the Varn capital, the Empress herself froze when she heard the message. Her daughter, the child she believed dead, alive and speaking across the galaxy. Her heart trembled, tears filling her eyes for the first time in decades. In human colonies, people cheered, "The hybrid lives." Someone shouted, "She's one of us." Hope returned to places that had forgotten what it felt like. But not everyone rejoiced. Some alien generals demanded silence. Fearing her words would destroy their control, fleets began to move, some to capture her, others to protect her. The galaxy shifted overnight. Lyra knew what she had started. She looked up at the stars, her heart steady. "Papa," she whispered, "you wanted peace. I'll finish what you began." She stepped outside the old station, The desert wind carrying her message far and wide. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in the sky. Ships approaching. But they were not enemies, they came in peace. Bearing the sigil of the Empress, the lead vessel landed gently, and from it stepped the Empress herself. Tall, regal, her silver eyes shining with emotion. For a long moment, mother and daughter simply stared at each other. Then the Empress fell to her knees, whispering, "Forgive me." "My child." Lyra walked forward and placed her hand on her mother's face. "You don't need forgiveness," she said softly. "You need understanding." Behind them, human scouts arrived, watching from a distance, guns lowered. For the first time in living memory, humans and aliens stood under the same sun, not as enemies, but as witnesses to a new beginning. Lyra raised her father's pendant high, the light from it spreading across the dunes. "Let this light be our promise," she said, her voice echoing across the horizon. "No more fear, no more walls. My father believed in peace, and so will I." The Empress bowed her head, whispering through tears, "The human who saved you. His name will be remembered." As the twin suns rose, Lyra looked toward the sky, her blue eyes reflecting both sorrow and hope. "He already is," she said, far above, in the quiet of space. The message kept traveling, and from one world to another. A story of a single human father who changed the stars with nothing but love.